I'm just going to let you lead.
We got this. I'm not worried about it. Are you? A little bit?
I'm just a little anxious today. And like this whole week, I've been a little anxious, but.
Well, let's take care of anxiety with the holiday season conversation.
Let's do it.
Because number one, the holiday seasons can be extremely challenging for all marriages. In fact, there's data out there that suggests that the second week of January is the most prolific month that people file for divorce. The reason being, they get through the holidays and then file for divorce. So we're in that time frame right now. People are questioning, okay, is this the right marriage? What are we going to do? What's it going to look like for family events? And there's a lot of stress and anxiety around the holidays with spending time together that we haven't spent together in a while. We've got vacations, kids are out of school, just
holiday parties.
Yeah. So there may be alcohol that's involved in times when it's normally not. There's just a lot of outside noise that can interfere with the marriage during this time of the year. So what we want to do is be able to talk to couples about how they can best equip themselves to have a successful holiday season. So we're going to give out really 7 key areas where we focus on, or at least have over the balance of the last 7 or 8 years, to set us up for success, knowing that the holidays are coming and we want to be in an awesome spot to celebrate, have fun, remember the season, but then not just go through it, but we want to grow through it.
Yeah, well, I would say nothing is more awkward than when you're at a party and you're fighting.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
I don't care if it's a family party, a work party. We've had some of our biggest arguments at a work event during the holidays.
Yeah.
And it's stressful, and then it's embarrassing because it's not like we're trying to hide our conflict, but then everybody else sees it, and it's just
it's tough. There's a lot of insecurities that take place during that time. You're together, you're going out to events, you're hanging out at work events where maybe you don't like the profession that your spouse is in, or you don't know those people as well. And judgment, you may feel like they're talking about you behind their back, and now you're going to be faced with meeting those people, and it's like, man, I don't know what these people think about me. So that's kind of number one, is really understanding that we've got to have really clear expectations of what it's supposed to look like for us as we launch into a holiday season. And that starts with great communication early, right? You've got to be able to sit down and have these conversations about what's coming. So the communication aspect of it is extremely important, with setting clear expectations of what is to come. We've got the first one. We're through Halloween now, so we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and then Christmas right after that, and then New Year. So we've got 3 of the biggest holidays where we want to have really clear expectations of what we can do to make sure that we're not just going through the season, but we're growing through it.
Yeah, and whether it's attending family gatherings or church events or, like we said, work parties or whatever, what does it look like? Is there something that you want to do that maybe it's just the girls or it's just the guys? And I wouldn't say there's a ton of that, but there's, kids activities where maybe you're going to be dividing and conquering. And so what's the priority? How do you communicate that? It takes a little bit to get a schedule and plan it out. So
our practice is this. We sit down every Sunday and go through what's upcoming for the week. And we'll have a show where we talk about annual planning of what that looks like. But really, we've got to look at this in micro moments right now of what does it look like for the upcoming week and for the holiday season. So our advice would be to sit down on Sunday nights, talk about the upcoming week. But now that we're getting ready to launch into this season, we may need to look a little bit further ahead. What do what family gatherings do we have? What work gatherings do we have? And start getting those on the calendar now so that we can be prepared when they come and we're not caught off guard. Communicating it with one another, the time of the event, when are we going to be together? Really setting those priorities up of what's the most important things that we need to do in this season to set us up for success. And really, one of the main things with that is talking about what does it look like for you guys to have a budget as it relates to holiday spending.
That's the scary word.
It is. And usually we say it this way. One of you loves spreadsheets and the other one loves satin sheets. So one of you is going to be looking in the books and trying to figure out, okay, this is our budget. And the other person saying, what budget? Why would I care about a budget? It's the holiday season. Let's bless the socks off of our kids. Absolutely. For us, I'm the one that usually tends to go out and do a lot of the Christmas shopping just because I love to buy things, and a little bit more practical with that. Bree's the socks and underwear. And what are some of the other items that you love to buy for the kids that are so practical?
Oh my gosh.
But yet not that fun for them to open up?
Well, they get a set of pajamas, like a fun set or like a nicer set of pajamas every year. I grew up the youngest of 4. My family was very practical, and maybe this is a different thing about giving, but I feel like my family was very practical. From Santa, we got like t-shirts and socks and underwear, and then like one big gift. And you, in your family, was like,
it was all out, baby.
it was all out.
It was all out. Anything you put on the list, you had a pretty good chance that you were going to get within reason.
Yeah.
But when we're thinking about that, you just brought up a really good point that might be this area I know for a lot of Christians is this Santa thing. What does Santa look like in your family? Like, we all know that this is a fictional character that...
What?
Sorry, hopefully no kids are listening. But if you are, the way that we were taught how to do this from a biblical perspective was to just not be in a position where we're lying to our kids about anything. And that can be really challenging because there's this joy, there's this excitement of Santa's coming. I think of the movie Elf when I say that out loud, but
I know him,
exactly. But you want to make sure that you're aligned on that. When you've got the right appropriate age, our advice is just don't lie to the kids about it. Like, these aren't gifts from Santa, they're gifts from God. And your mom and dad want to bless you based on what it is. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's one piece of coaching advice that we give parents early on is make sure you're aligned on what that looks like from the Santa side of things, looking at it from the biblical perspective of like, hey, the Christmas season is to celebrate Jesus's birth. And Santa's like a great character that goes along with it, but he's not the one that we're going to worship during this season. So we just let our kids know what were they? I think they were about 8 and 4, maybe 9 and 5 when we had that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like 10, 6, something
10
like
and
that.
6, something like that. And the
ones.
easiest part was like, they just didn't care. They pretty much knew already at this point, like, we know exactly. So,
but here's the deal, having the clear expectations as a couple so that you're aligned, because that's what it's about. So whether it's about Santa, whether it's about the scheduling, whether it's about, who's going to what family, we have to be aligned. So it's clear communication.
Yep. Number one is the communication aspect of knowing what to expect. So clear communication and setting expectations early. And the way that we do that is by planning out the main priorities that you have taking place through this holiday season that are based around your guys' family, work schedules, everything that you have going on, so that you can set your family up for success and set the marriage up for success. Because number two is, it's really hard to maintain intentional connection points during this time of the year. There's a lot of pieces going on. We talked about how some of you will be taking vacation during this time of the year, maybe your business schedule, or you're following off to the back end of the year and you've got some vacation time to burn and now you're home for a 2-week period or maybe even a little bit longer and the kids are home from school. Everybody's home and it's like, what does that look like for you as a married couple to maintain those connection points that you've started to establish throughout the year, and you want to make sure that you finish the race strong, setting yourself up for success going into the next year. So 2 things that we advise is just a weekly check-in, right? You've got to have those checkpoints. And we talked about Sunday night being one of those moments where we're sitting down, walking through the calendar, walking through the main events, where are the areas that we won. One of the things that we coach couples with is something that we call soul care. And soul care is really looking at these 5 main pillars of our marriage of where we're at. And it starts with, where did we win today? How could I have shown you more love today?
How could I have shown you more respect?
How could you have shown me more respect today? Let me back up. We start with prayer. It always starts with prayer. And then we move into the conversational piece of that of,
where did we win?
Where did we win? How could I have shown you more love? How could you have shown you more respect? What are some areas where I could have done things differently this week? So that's number 4. And then the 5th one is
how to set you up for success.
How to set me up for success. And those are just really quick conversations for us that we have during our planning meeting. And we know where we're at, but that's a daily conversation for us. Most of the time, we don't get the opportunity at this point to really sit down every day and do that because we've just done it with such great consistency over the long haul. We have these periodic check-in points where we're asking those in the soul care, but that's a great time, maybe over this 2-week period or whatever it looks like for you guys of the holidays, to say, you know what, I want to have a different marriage next year than what we've had this year. We've done some great things, but here's some key areas where I feel like we can really elevate where we're at. We can level up our marriage if we're intentional in these 5 key areas, because that's what marriage is all about, right? We want to celebrate wins. We want to know where we've fallen short and not feel like our spouse is judging us when we've done that, but hold me accountable in those areas. Where am I not loving you extremely well in this season right now? And it may be, hey, you've been really busy with work, or, hey, you've been totally focused on the kids. Some other areas where people probably have some challenges would be, from your point of view, what are some of the other ones?
Yeah, I think just saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we talk a lot with couples, saying no to the good so you can say yes to the best. One thing that helps us is that if I get invited to something, I can say, hey, let me check the family calendar. Sometimes I like to say, yeah, that sounds great, I'll be there. And then I feel guilty either coming to you and saying, shoot, I didn't check with you. I don't want to go back to my friends or the group and say, my husband won't let me, because that's setting us both up for failure.
So I want you to really highlight that, because I think that's a key piece that I want people to really make sure they catch. The way that we share that with other people is what?
So when there's a lot of things going on, it's before saying yes. I don't care if it's to meet for coffee, if it's to take on another client, if it's to go to work, if it's to say yes to a kids event. Always pause and do yourself a favor and say, I need to check with our family calendar.
I need to check our family calendar.
Yeah. Not, hey, I need to see if my husband will let me.
Yes.
Because that just...
Or wife.
Yeah, or wife.
On the other side.
But really, and then pressing pause so you don't feel that pressure to just go ahead and say, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And then either you're disappointing the group that you said yes to, that commitment, or to your family, specifically your husband and your kids, because you don't want that.
Right. And what that does, what Bree just described there, I mean, when we say, let me check the family calendar versus let me check with my spouse, in the event that the answer is no, that you're not able to do that, what happens when we say, let me check with my spouse, is everybody that you've had to say no to now assumes that your spouse is the reason that you're saying no. And if we're committed and there's unity in what we're doing and we're communicating well and we want to have these intimate connection moments and have a marriage that thrives, is part of that starts on the inside of our house. So we've got to make sure that we're clearly stating, I'm checking my family calendar before we do this. Then the answer is no. We've got something else going on at that point. It doesn't put you on the spot, doesn't put me on the spot, doesn't put the other person on the spot to be the bad person saying, well, your wife always says no. Your husband always says no. Of course they're going to say no. Why do you got to check? Excuse me. Why do you have to check with the ball and chain?
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. So love the way that you described that. And the next thing is just really scheduling scheduling couples time for the two of you during this season, whether that's shopping events. I think, like, as much as most men probably dislike going out to do Christmas shopping with their spouse, but when we look at it through the lens of what an opportunity to spend time with them, it's no different than having to go to a movie that you may not like. It's about holding their hand when you're with them, talking through things together, watching the budget, having dialogue about it, and really enjoying that time with one another. Yeah, there's lots of other things that we could be doing, but if this is really important to you and it's scheduled intimate time, enjoy it. Put a window on it. Go back to the communication with expectations of, hey, we're going to be out for a couple of hours. Here's our list. Work on those things together, setting one another up for success so that it can be an enjoyable event for you guys and you're aligned. And it's really it's an opportunity for a date.
Yeah. And for the couples that have little kids, schedule a babysitter. And if you can't do that, if you don't have family around or you're just not comfortable with that, I would say do it while they're in school. Do it while they're at daycare. Do something where you can connect and carve out a couple of hours with your spouse. Maybe it's not shopping. I mean, maybe it's a happy hour, or maybe it's just a connection where you can say, hey, let's do coffee together. We have to be creative sometimes, especially in the busyness of seasons, with holiday seasons and just with seasons of life. So yeah, just talk about it, and you have to have that time. Otherwise, it's like October goes by, November goes by, December, January. Well, crap, now we're out to the whole new year, and I've barely seen you.
Yeah, we've spent very limited intentional time together through this holiday season, and then we're thrusted right back into a new year, and we've got new goals, new game plans, and we've completely wasted this amazing time for us to be intentional with one another, learn new communication strategies, set clear expectations, and really enjoy connection time with one another.
That leads us into number 3.
Creating some new traditions. That's really exciting. We have this propensity to where we want to pass down a lot of the legacy pieces of a holiday season, and those are great. I think they're timeless. We should hold on to as many of those as we can. But also, as a new family, you want to create your own new family events around the holidays.
And that's tense because what feels really natural to me, or for the wife is going to be what she grew up doing. We have to do it this way. Well, my family always connects, always gets together on this night and this night. And that can create a lot of tension. Whose family do we honor?
Yeah.
How do we travel? What does that look like? And so creating new family traditions is fun. Get with your spouse. Pick an activity to do. Maybe it's decorating the tree on a certain day, or maybe it's going to dinner on a certain day together as a family. But really creating something new and fun so that it can be specific to you and you can have that as a priority as opposed to honoring and feeling guilty for doing everything with your family.
Yeah, and letting a lot of people down. And then that's usually when you start walking into these family events with bitterness, unforgiveness, stress, anxiety, all of it. So if we go back to creating clear communication and clear expectations before we go into these events, that's going to help us through the ones that are family traditions. But then as we start to create our new ones, it's about really being able to have that conversation with the family that you're going to let down because you're opting to say, we want to start our own family traditions, whether that's Sunday mornings of opening presents as a family together, whereas in the past it might have been, we're going to go to grandma's for this, we're going to go to grandpa's for this, everybody's going to come together. That's great.
On a specific day.
On a specific day, yep.
Yeah, or on the specific holiday, and then try to pick something else. So we're going to do it on Sunday this year.
Yeah.
Or we're going to do it,
Yeah, have flexibility with that, but know the importance that starting your own family traditions are extremely important for the legacy that you're trying to leave behind. You don't just want to pass down everything. Pick the ones that are really important to you. Make space for all of those by having a great conversation with one another about what it looks like, timing of those events, the days of those events, without letting stress, anxiety, and all of the other thoughts come into it by having a really clear path of what that's going to look like. And then not being afraid to share it with your family. Because that's one of the hardest parts is like, okay, well, I'm going to have to call mom and let her know that, hey, we're not going to be there for the Christmas Eve night, or we're going to go to church at the church that we go to on Christmas Eve, not to the one that you've gone to for the last however many years. You're welcome to come with us. Always extend that invitation, but start creating your own family traditions around that. And I know that's been challenging for us as we've kind of gone on this journey, and our family goes to different churches, and we're placed around different areas throughout the areas that we live in of, okay, how are we going to navigate all of these together? But we've just put a stake in the ground and said, hey, Christmas Eve is when we do our church event, and we're going to be there for the whole day. It's a long event.
And we haven't probably always done it the right way, but I think the goal is to prioritize your family, your nuclear family, but still show honor to your extended family, because that's the last thing we want to do is go into it and say, we don't care about those. I want to show honor, but I want to put priorities. One family tradition or one option for a new family tradition is invite the Lord into it. A new devotional specifically for Christmas, or maybe you read the proverb of the day together. Have some connection points where you're going to specifically do that. I can't remember if it's the book of Luke where you can do it every day, but it's picking a book of the Bible basically and reading it as a family to invite the Lord into the busyness of the holiday season, so it's more balanced.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I mean, we can't remember what year it was where we actually had the kids read directly from the Bible on Christmas Day. I don't remember exactly when that was, but actually, was that when we were apart? Do you remember that?
I don't know.
Because it was when we were separated, it was over Christmas. And I remember that was one.
That was something I think that you did.
Okay.
Okay.
I know it was out at the lake house because we were separated over Christmas, which was really hard. Some of you might be in a season where right now this is your first season, holiday season, where you're not together as a couple.
Yeah.
And there's going to be even more complexity to that than there has been in the past. So really, you look at what does it look like to clearly communicate with that other parent of making sure that there's proper time for both of you to spend with your kids and with other family. I mean, it's another complexity that we've got to bring into it. Sin has a price. It costs no matter what. And when we've got a situation where both parents aren't in the same house together, that's another complexity that we've got to learn how to manage through and communicate through and set clear expectations with. Talking about spending, there might be this desire to, okay, I'm going to give more to my child to try to win them over. And that's a dicey spot to be. So really being able to communicate extremely well, even though there's a lot of bitterness and resentment and hurt and broken trust potentially in the marriage, learning how to talk through that now is just going to set you guys up for success to build family traditions independently of one another, obviously with the hope of reconciliation on the other side of that. That brings us into the fourth one, which is really giving gifts. What does that look like? We've talked about it a little bit. One of Bree's favorite things to do is give gifts. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I am more practical with gifts. And it's funny because when I think about what my love language is, I love getting gifts, but it's not something like that I really consider when I'm giving the gift to someone. I have to be really intentional and have a budget in mind because, of course, I'm going to want to get the most expensive, amazing things to bless my friend or bless my kids. But I sometimes can get stressed out about that because I want to be intentional. But yeah, so just giving gifts is really important during this holiday time. So we're on the same page.
Yeah. And having that budget, talking about the budget before you go into it of what are we going to spend per person, per kid, for each other, things like that. I would say that we've started a new practice, a new tradition within our home, which is giving 4 gifts, right?
Yep. Then I always go over, but which is the problem. But something to wear, something you want, something you need, something to wear, something to read.
Yep.
And so even with that, having a little bit of a budget, what that looks like, because you're getting 4 gifts, it takes the pressure off of getting everything on their list, but you're getting 4 things that they put on that they're excited. The one year our son was like, I don't want anything to read. Can I get something else? And we were like, nope, you have to pick something. Maybe it can be a new journal or a new, a new book. It has to be something that you can read. But that takes a lot of pressure off of us, I think, because we're more focused. And then we still get the stocking gifts. But yeah, that's a new tradition for us. And it's trying to be intentional. It's really quality over quantity.
It is. We've really landed on the spot of building memories. I'm sure that for some of you that have kids that have kind of moved through the adolescence age and moved into maybe high school age or even a little bit older, I mean, you give them the gifts on Christmas, and it's by March. You're like, what? They're not even using
March,
this anymore.
it's usually like January 17th.
Right after the holiday season. It's like that Nerf gun gets put over in the corner. The Lego box you've built the item. It's sitting there. All of these things just end up somewhere. There are more things that we end up accumulating. Then halfway through the year, you start throwing them out, and it's like, okay, wow, why did we spend all of this money? So it is. It's really about the quality of the time that we spend together, and buying things that are practical, that are going to make sense, that are going to last, but then most importantly, creating memories with one another. I mean, really taking the time to make an event out of it, of something that's more about the time that we spend together. They're going to remember memories far more than they're going to remember the items that they got. And it's really fun to start. I know a lot of people do family trips instead of gifts. That's a great practice. It's something that you step away, you get out of the regular season. For us that are in the cold weather climates like Nebraska, you can get somewhere warm, enjoy some sun with one another, and it's going to be a memory that you guys are going to have. But even with that, you want to make sure that you're doing these other items all the way up to that. There's good communication with it. You're talking about what you're going to be doing to spend time with one another. You're not getting out of the regular routine of spending time in God's Word, finding a local church to attend. You can create all of those same things in another environment where you guys are at.
Yeah.
Last one, or fifth one, me, navigating family gatherings gracefully.
Gracefully
is the key word with this.
Let's just be real. Sometimes we've had our biggest fights after holidays, after a holiday event. We kind of talked about it before, whether it was a holiday event or a work event. It's stressful. There's one person who always wants to leave early and one person who's like, no, we should stay. And we've both been in that position, but typically once we're there, I want to stay. I want to do one more thing. I want to play the cards. I want to play the game. I want to talk. But it's not that either one is bad. It's just you have to have good communication going into it. What are your expectations?
Yeah, we set boundaries right away, right? We walk into each of these before we get into the car, before we end up going to the event. We talk about really a desired time frame that we want to spend there, without it being awkward for everybody. We can't just show up for 20 minutes and bounce. But we want to spend time with one another, and we want to spend time with our family. And you don't just want to rush through this season from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and then look back and be like, man, what did we accomplish? For us, it's really about what's our family look like throughout all this. We want to be connected in everything that we do. So setting boundaries up of, hey, we're going to be there from this time frame to this time frame. We're not getting upset with the other person. We use a code word or we use a code movement. I use a code movement when it's time to go.
The movement drives me nuts, but I'm learning.
That's it, baby. When I do this, so now everybody knows if you see me doing this anywhere, that means I'm done. I'm ready to start wrapping things up and get moving.
And why did you implement that? It really started with the kids.
It did. It started with the kids. It's something that I can do where I don't have to verbalize, hey, it's time to go. It means I'm serious, so I don't have to have anger with it. It just means let's go. It's time for us to wrap up what we're doing. And also, like, I never get pushback with it, other than from you once in a while. I'm like, don't you dare do this to me. And that's okay. It's all in kidding now at this point. But
this is what I need, though. If I'm not able to time manage during conversations or honor our family time with that, I need a little bit of a heads up and warning. So I need maybe this
a couple times.
Like one or two. And then which is a couple. But I need that to say like, hey, you got about 5 minutes, start wrapping it up because it's time to go.
Yep.
But what I would have done in the past has been like, he's such a, fun hater, or I would have thrown you under the bus to the person I was talking to, or even on my facial expression. It doesn't have to be that way. I don't want to dishonor you or the person I'm talking to. It's just like, hey, let's wrap it up. I have about 5 more minutes before we have to go. And I need a warning. That's the only thing.
Yep. You want to be able to finish those conversations, and I want to be able to respect that. I want you to not feel like you're pressured to go, but also for some of you where there's different dynamics in the relationship, there may be one that does want to get home and be able to relax a little bit or spend some time with the kids. I mean, one of the worst things I think we can do is open up all of these, from the kids' standpoint, is open up gifts in the morning, give them a bunch of new stuff to play with, and then say, okay, well, we've got to go. I mean, that's tough. That's tough for a child to go through of like, hey, I just got all of this awesome stuff. Well, now mom and dad are rushing me off somewhere and I can't take it with me. Or they're wanting to take all of it in the car, creating more stress, more anxiety, more things for you to move about. So building that into the schedule to say, okay, hey, after this, we're going to be able to hang out for a couple of hours. Then we're going to go to this family gathering. We're going to be there until this time. And it just comes back to this clear communication with everybody that's involved of what we're doing, what our plan is, what our expectations are, and how we're going to hold one another accountable with grace as we're going through another family event or family gathering or family holiday.
One thing that we haven't addressed yet is having some clear communication going into family or work events where you're not isolating and going off on your own and leaving your spouse talking to that family member that's difficult, that work environment. Like we've had also issues in the past with that, because it's like, man, I might run off with some friends, or I might, be with the kids when they were little. That really leaves you in a tight position where you're feeling awkward and it's not good. Yeah.
I would say that I love that you brought that up, because for me, one of the things that I've struggled with throughout most of my life is insecurity. I'm a very outgoing person in some environments, but I'm also introverted in a lot of environments. If I'm not comfortable there, I can go talk to about anybody and have a great conversation with them. But I would say that it's probably not my favorite thing to do. I usually try to find 1 or 2 people that I've got a lot of common interests with. I want to meet as many new people as I possibly can, get to know them. But I'm not just going to sit down and rap for hours upon hours with somebody that I don't have a lot in common with.
Or that you've just met.
Or that I've just met. I'm more private in a lot of my stuff, and that's just an insecurity on me that I've got to continue to work on. But on the other side, you are very outgoing. You will sit and talk to anybody for as long as you need to, and that's great. I don't want to take that away from you. But when we go to events, we've had to communicate this a lot with one another of, hey, don't leave me. Don't leave me just sitting there by myself, because I can tell you in the past what that would equate to.
Bitterness, anger, increased alcohol.
There it is. Bingo. Number 3, I would sit there and just start pounding drinks and then I'd be wasted and be a complete idiot. And then that's when anger sits in and all of this other stuff. So having that communication with one another when we're getting into those to say, okay, hey, don't leave my side. Be with me. Let's do this together rather than you go do your friend stuff. I'll go do my friend stuff. I'll talk to the guys. You talk to the girls. You talk to this family. I'll talk to this family. Like, no, we're a team. We've got unity in everything we do. Doesn't mean that you can't go do your fun stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to say, doesn't mean that I can't go off and talk to someone. I just can't leave you on an island.
Yeah. And I may grab your hand, pull you aside and be like, okay, I'll come back and check on you in a few minutes. And I oftentimes find myself, people probably think I'm crazy with this, but I'll find myself, I will just naturally gravitate back towards Bree. I'll put my arm around her, and that's not awkward for us. It's totally normal because that's who we are. That's how we operate.
Is it because I'm magnetic?
It's so magnetic and just a complete smoke show, and I can't keep my hands off of you. But I'll end up talking with her and some of the other people. Like, we're not big into the whole like guys over here and girls over here. That's just not marriage from our perspective. So therefore we try to stay together and stay connected when we're in public environments, whether it's family gatherings. And let's just talk about it briefly. Like, we're getting into the season of work stuff, work meetings, work gatherings, work events can be very stressful.
On the couple.
Yeah, on a couple, because you've got your work friends, I've got my work friends. It's different industries in a lot of cases.
Different inside jokes, different
you're an
commonalities.
Outsider. Yeah, you're an outsider. Plus there's that fear of insecurity of what the other person has told them about you, so you're dealing with that. And hopefully you're not at a spot in your marriage where you are with that, but if you are, be cautious with that, right? Be careful who you share intimate things with, because you want to make sure that you're honoring your spouse when you're all together as a group. You don't want to be like, oh my gosh, you know how mean he is to her though? You know what she does to him? She's the nagging wife. He never gets to do anything because she's the one that's always saying, no, you've got to do this stuff with the kids. You want to be careful what you're sharing with people. Yeah. And then when you bring alcohol into the mix, it's like, hey, let's just have really clear expectations on what our intent is of this event. How are we going to get home safe? What's it going to look like? Helping out with it so that it can be joyful. It can be filled with fun. And you guys are going to look back on it with a memory of an intimate moment that you created with one another, walked out of it without it being stress-filled, leading to bitterness or angerness or an ultimate worst-case scenario of just a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Yeah, so that was a lot. There was a lot in there. But I really think discuss boundaries, have some signals, prep on the front end. It's about honoring your family and then also support each other. You guys are teammates during it, and that's the goal, is to come away with it. It's a win if we can come away with it like, yeah, hey, that was fun.
Yeah. And the reason that we're able to get to that spot now, and the reason we're sharing so much of this with everybody, is because it really starts with what's the holiday season about. We want to keep our faith the central point of everything that we do.
That's number 6.
Yep. Number 6 is keeping faith the central piece of everything that you guys do within your family. So really thinking about that from the holiday season is you get this opportunity to, maybe it hasn't been the most spirit-filled year that you've wanted. Maybe there has been some complexities or some division of where you've been at throughout the marriage, throughout the year. And it's like, you almost start to get this chance to reset now during this time. There's a lot of people that only attend church at Easter and Christmas. Well, okay, let's use that then. And let's use this season to build a bridge to draw closer to Jesus as we're going into the holiday season. We can start with simply just attending church together and having a good understanding of what church you're going to go to. I would say if you haven't had a home church for a period of time, what an opportunity to really pray about, where do we want to go? And make sure there's alignment on that. I mean, I don't know. We've met with so many couples over the years where there's not alignment on the style of church that they want to go to. Regardless of denomination, everybody's got their own denomination. Doesn't matter if you're Catholic, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, non-denominational, Muslim, doesn't matter. But what we want to have is alignment on that. And if there's not alignment on it and you guys disagree with the style of church you're going to go to both. Really build one another up by going to both for this Christmas encounter, and figure out what that's going to look like for your family as you start to navigate into a new year, because faith is the central point of everything that we do. And it really is for all of us. We've got to have this North Star that we're falling back on. And this is a great time of the year to start building that bridge for alignment on who you guys want to serve and what you want your God to look like. For us, it's a non-denominational church. We love it. And that's just what works for us. We believe in God's word 100%. We're not going to let that get watered down by where we go. And we're going to try to build this relationship with Jesus versus religion. And that's just for us. But for all of you, it could be something different. The most important thing is to make sure that you have alignment on what that is, and keeping faith the central point of the holiday season in your marriage.
Yep.
Take us away, babe. The last one.
Yeah, last one is reflecting and planning for the year ahead. This may be stressful for the person who doesn't like to plan, and really exciting for the person who does, but it needs to be something that you guys do together. And so to decrease the stress, a couple of things is just dedicate a specific day or night to sit with your spouse and reflect. Some of our friends have a sitter overnight for the kids, and they go to have just like an overnight with themselves. They go to dinner, they have a good night's sleep, but really so they can get clear-headed and then discuss and say, okay, what does that look like for planning?
And that's really what this part's about, is planning when you're going to have that vision meeting. And we're going to have another show that comes out right after this one that is going to be dedicated to how to plan for the next year. But the important thing is scheduling that time now of what it looks like to say, okay, this is our year in review. This is our vision as we get ready to launch into a new year. How do we set ourselves up for success in this holiday season, knowing that a new year is coming?
Yeah, because I think a lot of times it's like, especially in the Midwest where it is that cold, dark, almost like dreary season. Of course, there's snow and it's beautiful, but it's just a different time of year where the temperature changes. You kind of are inside more.
Yep.
So just kind of figuring out that can be really stressful for people to think, what did I do this year? I just feel like I wasted it, or we haven't done it the right way. And so just having a night where you can hang out with your spouse, get some goals, plan on what it looks like, and just say, okay, this is where we're at. I'm not going to sit in frustration the whole time, but this is what our year was like. What do we want for the next one?
Yep. That's good. So to wrap it up, we've got 7 key things that we want to make sure that we're implementing into the holiday season. Number 1, discuss and set clear expectations. Number 2, maintain intimate connection points with one another, even through the busyness. Number 3, create new traditions. Don't be afraid of new traditions that you want to launch with your family. Number 4,
discuss the gift giving.
Discuss the gift giving
being
and
intentional.
Be intentional with it. And then number 5, navigating family expectations gracefully. It's going to be a challenge. Set yourself up for success by really communicating that extremely well. Then number 6, keeping your faith the central point. And then number 7, last but not least, really setting yourself up for success as you're getting ready to launch into a new year. Something you want to add to that?
No, I was just going to say the holidays don't have to be so busy and so full where you are stressed and it's really just creating more chaos. So just go into it thinking, okay, this can be the year that we are a team. This can be the year that we are spending time intentionally together and really just increasing joy and strength within your foundations of your marriage.
Yeah, it's really what it is. Remember this, you control your schedule.
Yep.
Nobody else gets to control your schedule. It's between you and your spouse on what the things are that you guys are going to call priorities in this holiday season. It doesn't have to be stressful. Don't let the outside noise infiltrate your guys' marriage. There's going to be a lot of things that are outside of your control. Make sure that you're having really clear communication about what those are. Get them on a list. Talk about them. It can be a season where you guys learn to thrive in your best holiday season yet. So take advantage of it. If you have questions, feel free to drop them to us in a DM. Shoot us a note. We'd love to walk with you through this season. This will be your best holiday season yet. Let it be one that builds you in joyfulness, in the way that you guys desire one another, the way that you pursue one another, really setting a new family tradition for the holiday season for you as you get ready to launch into a new year.
Let's go.